All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 336 once again for episode 186 of the 815 Exchange. You know, this is one of those episodes where I start off and I'm like, yo, this might be a shorter episode, but, we'll see. All right, we'll see. We've got Champions League making its return as a main segment. Welcome back, Champions League. UFC, you're going to the Roundup. So, a little bit of a swap there. Racing is back, so we'll be talking about that in the Roundup. We also had a world record fall at the SECs. We'll be talking about that. And, of course, it is basketball season. NFL, college football has departed us. So the NBA will now take over the main event. And, of course, we got plenty to talk about in college basketball as we are now just a week. Actually, not even really 7 days. Merely, I believe, Friday is the 1st. So, 5-6 days, if you're, depending on how you're counting Monday or where you are time zone wise, from March. So, college basketball is heating up. So, yes, plenty to talk about as always. Remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the content. And as always, everything you're looking for can be found in the description. Timestamps are embedded in the video, also found in the description. My social media links if you want to follow me in my daily life or whenever I feel like posting, you can also find those there. And yeah, let's get the show into the road. All right, Champions League or soccer. Really, we're just going to call it soccer, all right? Even though I'm talking mostly about the UCL, we're going to quickly go through these because these weren't if I'm being completely honest, as exciting, all right, this week. These match days were not as exciting as the first week, all right? I'm not going to lie to you, but, here we are. They were still here. And, they weren't too bad, but, what isn't exciting as last week's. But Inter Atletico kicked us off. Arnautovic took not one, not two, but 3 tries. All right, 3 tries. And the first 2, honestly, he should have, it really maybe should have been a hat trick. But it took 3 tries, but Arnautovic was able to get the game decider for Inter. Besides that, and you'll see this is a recurring theme with the rest of the Champions League this past week, it was a lot of great defensive battles. If you like defense, this was a great week in football for you. If you don't like defense, this was a miserable week because this is just one of 4 very intensely defensively just possession battles, if I'm being completely honest with you. Arnautovic, like I said, was the decider for Inter, who, like I said, have been in a little bit of a renaissance the past couple of years. So, yeah, congrats to them. They get a good 1-0 start against Atletico. Like I said, these are the first legs, though. And 1-0 is obviously the easiest of leads to kind of come back from. But Inter will have the advantage. PSV ties Dortmund. A lot of people, Dortmund, riding a little bit of a wave of momentum going into this game. PSV, a little bit of an unknown. We end up with a draw, which I think was fair. It wasn't the most beautiful game, but honestly, of the games that we saw, bar maybe Porto and Arsenal, probably the best game of the week in the Champions League. Malin scored in 24, but then that very controversial penalty call on Matt Hummels on that tackle allowed PSV to tie it up with the penalty. Interesting call. I feel like I've seen worse penalty calls, so I was kind of okay with it. But, I can understand Dortmund fans being a little bit upset. I can understand Hummels being a little bit disappointed. But nonetheless, PSV and Dortmund tie, even it up. That means, leg 2 is pretty much 0-0. Porto and Arsenal. Now, what a game. What a game this was for the last 10 minutes. All right, the last 10 minutes. Everything before that, hit or miss. Honestly, this game pretty much just came down to Porto wanted it more. Arsenal felt a little bit too comfortable. They felt a little bit out of sync. Felt like they've been, in a little good run of form. But this past week, just overall, even in the Prem this past week, felt like they got a little bit too comfortable. A little bit too comfortable, and they didn't play with the sense of urgency that I felt was needed. Not that it was do or die, but they did not have that, they didn't have that fire that Arsenal has, played with, and we've seen some of the recent success under Arteta. We didn't see that in this game, and Porto made them pay. We went in the 94th minute, the 4th minute of, not extra time, but of stoppage time, and it's Galliano who scores to give Porto the late win and leave the Gunners in disappointment. A game that you should have been at least walked out of here with a draw, if not gotten a goal on the board. But like I said, Porto wanted it more, especially in stoppage time. They were playing like it was do or die, and they got that most all important goal. Arsenal tried that bend don't break, but like we say in American football, prevent defense doesn't win you games. And that's what happened with Arsenal. We'll see if they can get it back or if Porto's 1-0 advantage will be all they need to get it done. That wasn't all. We had one more. All right, Napoli and Barcelona was not a good game. All right, it was not a good game, even though the 2-star strikers, that have been great strikers basketball. Lewis scored finally, and Victor Osimhen scored. This was not a great game. I honestly don't want to talk too much about this game because it was a very boring game. Besides those 2 goals, maybe heating it up a little bit, but besides that, very minimal action. 2 teams that are kind of not necessarily reeling, but are disappointing compared to their seasons that they had last year. So, that's what this game felt like. It ended in a draw. Similar to, like I said, with PSV and Dortmund, it's basically 0-0 for the second leg. We'll see who wants it more. Now, the Carabao Cup. Chelsea. Oh, my goodness. I don't know what y'all gave up to win the Champions League. I don't know what y'all did to win the Champions League, but it has just been a series of downs since then. Whether it's spending billions of dollars, millions and near billions of dollars, maybe even billions of dollars actually, in transfer money for bust, or it's been disappointing result after disappointing result after disappointing result. Chelsea continues to find new lows. Oh my goodness. Was it? I don't think it was Keane. It may have been Keane. But somebody said that the baby boo bottlers after this, it's Klopp's kids versus the baby boo bottlers or something like that. Yeah, they bottled it again for the 6th straight time in a major, in a domestic or a major final, right? Chelsea has lost. I don't know what they did for that Champions League, but it's been an incredible curse. This game was 0-0 thanks to Keller, by the way. I have to give a shout out. By the way, shout out to the kids. Liverpool playing with 6 academy kids throughout this entire match. And they still came and got it done. All right, this was actually not as, compared to the Champions League matches were rather boring and ended in like a 1-0 or a 1-1. This was actually a relatively exciting, relatively tense 0-0, including going into extra time. And then VVD, who was phenomenal all game, reminded us all why he has been one of the best defenders of his generation. A beautiful header. Like I said, probably should have been cleared if Chelsea marked him correctly, but they did not. And VVD did what he does best, and he made them pay. Liverpool gets the win in extra time. They celebrate. Carabao Cup. Liverpool is up good. I think they're top of the table currently in the Prem. They're pretty much murking the Europa League. And now everyone care about. All right, Klopp in his last year going out with a bang. Chelsea, please, will the pain ever stop? Lord knows. College basketball, CBB. Is it really an upset if we were projected to lose? Some of y'all know I'm a Duke fan, but is it really an upset if we were projected to lose? We weren't supposed to win this game. I think I know we technically speaking on rankings, we were supposed to win this game, but we were a 3-point underdog, right? This wasn't a shock to me. And that's actually not what I'm upset about. 83-79, Wake Forest beat us. By the way, Hunter Salas is who y'all claim Caleb Love is. In terms of being the Duke killer, Hunter Salas is who y'all claim Caleb Love is. I don't really fear Caleb Love. He had one really good game in a really important moment, but besides that has been relatively unimportant or uninspired against Duke. Hunter Salas, in the 2 games we've played him, has been a butcher, all right? He is a Duke killer, okay? I mean, terrified. I do not want to play Hunter Salas anymore. Please go to the draft or transfer somewhere that we don't have to play you, all right? 29 points in this game. Destroyed us. Andrew Carr, by the way, had 18. Like I said, Steve Forbes has done a great job. This, by the way, Swin probably puts Wake Forest, as long as they don't fall off a cliff here now to end the season, probably puts them in the NCAA tournament. Great job by Steve Forbes. He's done a wonder in the transfer portal, by the way, getting Efton Reed, getting a Hunter Salas from Gonzaga, a former 5-star prospect, pulling in the talent, like he said, and developing that here at Wake Forest. He's done a great job building that team and building that program. So credit where credit's due to Forbes. Flip had 17, which, that's been, better for him this year. It's not been his best year or what the year was supposed to be for him. But my biggest issue, of course, happened with the big event in this game, which was after the game during the court storming. As it looked like a scene out of World War Z. Of course, Wake Forest wins. And then, I guess because we're Duke, They decide to storm the courts. It's just chaos. Flip is caught in the horde. He ends up with a sprained ankle because the fans ran into him. Just great. And now Shire, of course, calling for a ban on court storming. Of course, this is the first event this year in college basketball. Caitlin Clark, another star player, as you guys all know, as we've talked about her many times, and you've probably seen her or heard of her. She got hurt, of course, in that Ohio State game. It ended up not being anything serious, but of course, she got ran into during the court storming. So, a lot of discussion going on about whether court storming should be banned. And even though I'm a Duke fan and even though our star player just got hurt, I am team fun. So I do not think court storming should be banned. Also, as a recent college student that has stormed a court or stormed a field, that is a great moment, of course. Not that we're entitled to it, but it's a cool moment. It's fun, right? I'm team fun in terms of sports. I'm always usually going to go with the fun option as long as it's reasonable. However, I do think that we need, whether it's regulations or just like simply wait till the other team is off the court and then everybody can storm. Like, it's either got to be that or we have to, security has to be competent enough that they set up like an area where the opposing team's players can safely leave the court so that these events can stop happening. Because, this could be imagine if he tears his ACL, that ruins, not that I think we're going to really do anything, but that ruins Duke's season. You know what I mean? It flipped. And even this, with the sprained ankle, him missing the next coming games, he might even miss that second Carolina game. That could do very major damage to, Duke's tournament outlook in the rest of the season. So I don't think court storming should be banned, but we definitely need regulations because, this cannot keep happening. I'm team fun, but man, we gotta be safe. We gotta, look out for the players and also people just gotta stop being assholes. You know what I mean? Just stop being a prick. I don't run. You can control yourself. You're not having that much of an out-of-body experience where you can make the conscious choice to not actively try to run in, run over, or push an opposing player. Just go celebrate. You don't have to be a prick about it. And unfortunately, Wake Forest students did not want to do that. But, it is what it is. Like I said, team fun, but, we got to do better, all right? We got to do better. Duke, I am very concerned, but I've told y'all that the entire year. The best game of the week was not the women's game. Finally. All right, finally. I get to talk positively about the men's game. I know. It's a shocker. We stopped doing that here on the A15 Exchange, but we are going to do it today because Houston and Baylor was it slapped. All right, a banger. Certified hood classic. It went to OT, but Houston gets to win 82-76 in this masterful Big 12 matchup. Late. Yves Missy. We've talked about him before on this show. Gets fouled, goes to the free throw line, has a chance, by the way, there's an and one, I believe, at the end of the game, has a chance to win the game on free throws. Misses the free throw. Houston gets the rebound. Jamal Sneed, who had a very solid game, made a lot of big time, showed up big time. All right, when it mattered for Houston, he showed up. All right. Hits the game winner, but it was just half a second. Didn't get it out in time. So that sends us to OT. And then from there, Houston just took over. She, by the way, had a double-double in this game. 12 points, 10 assists. Like I said, not a super gaudy, even though he had a double-double. Not a super gaudy stat line. But when it was time to be clutch, when it was time for a big-time player to make a big-time play, Sheed was that guy. Like I said, nearly won it at the buzzer. Emmanuel Sharp has been a model of consistency for this team. 18 points in this game. Seems like every time we talk about Houston in the big game, he's one of those guys we have to talk about. Roberts had 17. Jacoby Walter, who has been one of the very few solid freshmen in the country this year, actually somewhat living up to the freshman billing, even though, or five-star billing, should I say, even though he hasn't been very efficient this year. He had 23 in one of his best games against, again, one of the best teams he's going to play all year, Houston, who I believe is going to be the number one team in the new rankings if they're not already out because UConn lost. We're about to talk about UConn. Dennis had 21, Bridges had 17 and 13, but like I said, it wasn't enough. Baylor runs out of gas at the end. Houston closes superbly. They get it done. Best game of the week. One of the best games of the year, probably. UConn, by the way, like I said, they got beat by Creighton earlier in the week. Came back on the weekend, got a little bit of revenge. And just absolutely destroyed that poor opponent. But UConn still up, but they did take that L. So once again, it's going to be a chaotic tournament, man. Men's side, women's side, it's going to be chaos. Women a little bit probably less, I dare say. But the men's side is going to be a bloodbath like last year. Speaking of the women, LSU versus Tennessee. Of course, this matchup, not really, a big matchup in terms of the actual teams. Tennessee is unranked and not very good, if I'm being honest. But they do have Rakia Jackson, who is one of the best players in the country. So this was a huge matchup between her and, of course, Angel Reese and the LSU super team. That is not a super team. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, this game was stolen by Haley Van Lille. Who needed this, man? HVL needed this game. It has not been, I'm going to be blunt with you, it has not been a great year for HVL. She has been, even though she came to become a better point guard, in a sense, learning from Kim Mulkey, boy, oh boy, has she been going through growing pains. She has been much less the player she was at Louisville. It just has not been a good systematic fit. It has not been a good fit for her skill set. She has struggled mightily throughout this season. Bar a couple moments here or there, HBL has not looked like the superstar that she's supposed to be, or that her name, or where we know her to be, quote unquote. But in this game, she was that star. All right, 26-7 for HBL, one of her best games of the season, if not her best game of the season, and a very important game, by the way, versus Tennessee in terms of establishing some momentum for LSU. So congrats to her. Angel had 11-15, wasn't her most efficient night. Her and Rakia kind of balanced out each other. Okay, Angel goes 4 for 18. Rakia went 6 for 18. So yeah, not the most efficient night from the two superstars, but LSU gets a much-needed win against an SEC opponent. HBL, we'll see if she can build upon this. And, if she can make a star turn and revert to, HBL, LSU, once again, could be national champions. But we will see, all right? We will see. I was prepared to talk about Juju Watkins for the majority of this college basketball segment, which I still may or may not do. But they played Utah, and it could have been a crowning moment for her. She still had 30, by the way. She had 37-5. But it was on 30 shots. We're going to talk about it. And Utah gets the win 74-28. Of course, that woman, man, Alyssa Pilley, put some respect on her name. Put some respect on her name when you're talking about the best players in college basketball. Alyssa Pilley needs to be one of those names that come out of your mouth or in your thoughts. All right, 23 points, 23-8 to be exact, to lead the Utes over the Trojans, get a huge, the Pac-12 has been near cannibalistic in terms of, it's UCLA makes a run, then Stanford makes a run, then USC makes a run, and now Utah right here. They're the hot team. So Colorado, it's been incredible to watch. All right, Pac-12 women's basketball has been heat all year. Pilley has been a big reason why, of course, for that Utah team. Her healthy makes them dangerous, and you saw what happened to USC here. By the way, Juju earlier in the week, of course, had 42 against Colorado, which put her all up in the news as she broke, a couple Cheryl Miller records, single season scoring, most 30-point games, elite stuff, generational talent type stuff from Juju Watkins. She very much so looks like she is going to take that torch from Caitlin once Caitlin walks off, probably at the end of whenever Iowa loses in the NCAA tournament. So, it looks like we do have that next star, and it is exactly who we thought it was, Juju Watkins, looking like the truth. Like we've said all season, though, Juju needs to be more efficient. All right, I love her to death, fight on, but she does need to work on that efficiency, even though she has the ultimate green light, and I get it, but man, she needs to be more efficient, but she is doing tremendous stuff for a freshman and looking every bit the number one recruit in the country. So yeah, shout out to Juju, but it was Utah's time to shine. And of course, I'd be amiss if I didn't give y'all, of course, the CC update of the week. They lost to Indiana, which, by the way, I'm very concerned for Iowa. I know they're still a top 10 team, but I'm very concerned. I don't think they have the roster. I'm not going to lie to compete with some of these top teams. I know they beat Virginia Tech earlier in the week, and Caitlin has previously, before this season, had a history of being very dominant in big matchups. Even before the stuff that put her, even though she was already on the map, but really put her on the map in last year's tournament and that run. Even before then, she was known as kind of like a top team killer. That was one of the things that made her different, right? She wasn't just this player that's putting up these huge numbers against, nobody. She's doing this against the best of the best on a very consistent basis, just dominating, putting up these massive numbers. But she struggled a little bit this year, and I wonder if it's just simply because defenses are more keyed in on her, and they don't have to worry about a Monica Cesano, with all due respect to Hannah Stolke. She's not Cesano. Not yet, at least. And they don't feel as, worried about having to deal with that, and they're more keen on Caitlin, and Caitlin has to force it a little bit more, which doesn't always work out in her favor, as it did not in that Indiana game. So, wondering if that's that. So I'm very concerned for Iowa. I feel like they are definitely an upset candidate, as great as Caitlin is in the tournament. Could get knocked off before they even make the Final Four, Elite Eight. So we'll see what happens there. Besides the loss, Caitlin did have a very, very, very a very solid week, should I say. No 40-point games, not even a 30-point game, but she did flirt with a triple-double, and of course she had a triple-double yesterday. So yeah, not too bad from CC. Got her name put where she made the game winner. So yeah, not all is bad for Caitlin, but I am very concerned for Iowa. Unofficial sponsor of the day, Premiere Pro. All right, Adobe Premiere Pro. A lot of y'all have asked questions about what editing software I use. It is Premiere Pro. I think it is the premier, no pun intended, editing software on the market. The consistent updates along with your subscription, the various different features, whether it's in audio, whether it's visually, the different effects that come with it. It's just compatibility with any type of elements or graphic you get from different programs or you may find online. I think just separates Premiere Pro along with the UI. I think that is tremendous and very easy, or not should I say easy, but it makes it a lot more comfortable. It's not as, intimidating to look at in terms of the editing software. Very easy to pick up the basics once you're taught. So yeah, Premiere Pro, shout out to them, unofficial sponsor of today's episode. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to entertainment, okay? Welcome to ENT. Trust me. Yugyeom. I'm going to give it, and by the way, I would have given 10, just for the records. I would have given 10's 10 a 10, okay? His album called 10 from the artist named 10, by the way. And one of my favorite songs, if not my favorite song on the album, was on 10. So yeah, just superb stuff from 10. But anyways, Yugyeom dropped his album this past week. Trust me, I'm going to give it an 8.5. My favorite songs, I think, off of my first couple listens here are 1 Minute and Woo Ya Ya. He did a great job with the features. We had Lee High on here. It was very, very well done. Like I said in some of the reaction videos I did for 1 minute, he had the entire industry at the listening party. So yeah, shout out to Yug, 8.5. Very solid album. Wasn't one of my albums of the year. I felt like it was, even though I enjoyed the entire album, I don't think I really had any skips. It felt like something was just missing a little bit from and maybe it'll just grow on me and it'll enter that kind of album of the year, one of my favorite albums of the year. But 8.5, still a very good album. And yeah, he's been one of my favorite soloists in that game, in that genre for a while, in that K-R&B genre. So yeah, shout out to the boy. Insano, Nitro Mega. I haven't listened to it yet, but it did come out. He basically dropped an entire, I thought it was going to just be a deluxe, throw a couple songs. Entire new album. So we do have to listen to that. Might talk about that next week. Central C returned once again with another single, I Will. I don't know if it's album season. I wouldn't be mad at Cinch, though, for dropping one. I Will, I didn't love as much as Entrepreneur, but it was still very solid. I don't know if he dropped the MV for it, but yeah, still some solid stuff from Cinch. Like I said, he's been on past 2, I guess now 3 years. He's been heating up. So yeah, shout out to Cinch, keeping the momentum going. And of course, Dune 2 comes out this week. I will be watching that. There's nothing that can stop me from watching that. There is nothing that I'm going to prioritize more on Friday than watching that movie. I will be in theaters watching it. All right, nothing can stop me. That Rotten Tomatoes couldn't stop me. Nobody can stop me. You can't stop me. My father can't stop me. My mother can't stop me. That medicine ball to my right can't stop me. The camera can't. Nothing can stop me. All right, I'm watching Dune 2. With the rest of the world. Apparently they came through. So we'll talk about that next week and see whether we really delivered another classic. Another one needed. National Basketball Association. It's getting ridiculous, bro. Joker has been on smoke. Let me read out the last 3 games for Nikolai Jokic, who is, let's be honest, the best player in the world. Let's read it out, yeah? Since the All-Star break. Against the Washington Wizards, 21, 19, and 15. Against the Portland Trailblazers, 29, 15, and 14. And this past game, yesterday, against the Golden State Warriors, 32, 16, and 16. My Lord. All right, the Joker has been, listen, he didn't listen or care about the All-Star game, and him and Luca were just goofing around, having fun, regardless of, Dr. J went in there and was like, we got to be competitive. They didn't really care. Well, he's been on another level since the All-Star break, all right? Very much so looking like the best player on the planet. It's been absurd. Listen, Washington and Portland are Washington and Portland, all right? They ain't great. But Golden State, everybody's been talking about, is Golden State back? Are the Warriors back on track? Joker said all that. Forget all that. No. 32, 16, and 16. Obscene. All right, obscene against the Golden State team, playing as well as they have, especially since they put Clay on the bench. But, Denver just going off. Jamal Murray also had a good game. But, Joker has been playing on a different plane of existence. It's ridiculous, bro. He's averaging what? That's mid-20s. Over 17 or 18 board. I think 17 point something boards a game with over 15 assists is ridiculous, bro. It's a joke. It's a joke. All right. He's a monster. All right. An absolute monster animal. He is the Joker. Nikolai Jokic, best player in the world. Shy. SGA has been a model of consistency. It's absurd. A lot of people started realizing this, by the way. SGA averages 31, 6, and 7. He does not deviate from this. He doesn't. 36 yesterday, by the way, to give him his 42nd 30-point game of the year, by the way, which is the most in the NBA, is almost an outlier. He always is around that 30, 31-point mark. Not just his average. He's always hitting that. He always has around 6 rebounds, 7 rebounds, maybe 8 rebounds, right? And he always has about 7, 8, maybe 5 assists. What's consistency? If you go back, I'll probably pop it up somewhere, probably over here. You look at his last couple games, it's all hovering around this average. It's insane. He doesn't have these bad games where it's a fall off into the teens. No, it's consistently 31, 6, and 7 every single game. Some variation of that. It is remarkable, the consistency. It wasn't like he became like a star and then he has these superstar bursts. No, he hit superstar level, and Shai has been at that level consistently. And that's a great sign for a young star like him, and really as that kind of foundational piece, even though he's surrounded by a lot of great young pieces in OKC, him as the franchise player, for him to be playing at such a consistent level, as such a young, at 25, is a really, really good sign for somebody that is in that position. So shout out to SGA. But that's, just it's comical. It's not like you're never going for 40 or 50. No. 30 exactly, round 6 boards, round 7 assists every single time. All right, remarkably consistent. Chet, by the way, has been hooping since the All-Star break. Wemby has been going off, though. I got to give credit where credit's due. Wemby, firm control of that Rookie of the Year race. Had a 5v5 or a 5x5 against the Lakers earlier in the week. Of course, that's at least 5 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, 5 steals, and 5 blocks. By the way, he also had 5 blocks and 5 steals in consecutive games. So yes, Wemby, by the way, once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the worst he's going to be. He's this good, and this is the worst he's going to be. This is him with no experience, just green. No, barely an offseason. This is it. This is the floor. Oh dear God. And somebody said it, and I thought this was great. God forbid he gets a Trae Young. Him and Trae, oh my goodness. Oh, it's over. It's over. Oh my goodness. I almost want to see it happen. All right, because I really have no dog in the fight in terms of the NBA. I would be so down. All right. If the Spurs somehow got Trae Young and got him, somebody that could space open the floor like that and has that playmaking skill that Trae has, oh my gosh. Now I can't stop thinking about it. But Wemby has been playing out of his mind, looking very much so like the alien we were promised as a generational player. The Mavericks, by the way, Luka cooking up, Kyrie cooking up. Mavs looking really good. Those moves they made the trade deadline paying off right now. We'll see if they can make it, flush. I want to see Luka play meaningful basketball. Not that they haven't made the playoffs, but I want to see him in the finals, in the conference championship. I want to see him playing those big moments. Because as a lot of people also do, he's very likely to become the best player in the world, or possibly the defining player of this generation. Would not be a shock. All right, so I want to see him. I want to see him get Mike Trouted out here. want to see the best play in the best moments. So we will see what happens there. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the Roundup Motorsport. Now, the Bahrain Grand Prix is this weekend, and I am very excited about that. I'm very, even though it's probably just, let's be honest, Max is probably going to dominate again. I'm very excited for F1 being back. All right. It's honestly almost taken over as my favorite motor. It's almost taken the title from NASCAR. Even though we're about to talk about NASCAR, it's honestly almost taken over my favorite motorsport. Because I don't know. It's entrapped me. I get the mystique now. But yeah, very excited for the start of the season next week. Of course, we'll be talking about that in episode 187. But for 186, ladies and gentlemen, Daytona was this past week. But we also had Atlanta, of course. Daytona. And Atlanta, surprisingly, ladies and gentlemen, Atlanta, okay? 10 cautions. 10 cautions in this absolutely chaos-filled race where only like 3 drivers didn't get in an accident the entire time. It ended with one of the best finishes in NASCAR history, if I'm being completely honest with you. Kyle Busch, by the way, even though he got third out of all this, what a move to set this all up, by the way. He put on Ryan Blaney to make it essentially a 3-way photo finish to see who wins. I thought Blaney won it after first look, but then I saw that the line was in the middle of the checkered flag on the strip. And ladies and gentlemen, Trackhouse got to celebrate because Daniel Suarez wins in Atlanta, of course, booking himself a ticket into the playoffs. But yeah, just absolutely an insane finish. It doesn't get any closer. And it doesn't get any more exciting, honestly, than that last lap. But yeah, just an absolutely insane finish. Shout out to Blaney, shout out to KB, of course, and shout out to Suarez on being able to deliver that with no accidents, by the way. No accidents, even with all that chaos. No accidents on that final lap to, cut it short. Drove it all the way through. KB made a great move, and then Suarez was opportunistic, was able to beat Blaney to the gun. So, yeah, credit where credit's due. But, yeah, what a finish. Blaney. Heartbreaker for the past, the reigning champion. I'm sure he'll be all right. But, yeah, congrats to Suarez on getting the win. Bellator. Listen. I mean, there was only way Bellator could crash out before they merged with PFL. It was only one way they could crash out, by proving that they were the number 2 promotion in terms of MMA in the world, or at least in North America, right? Dominate the entire, card versus the PFL. And then in the main event, Ferreira knocks out Ryan Bader in, 15 seconds? So they lose the main event, win everything else. But yeah, I just thought that was very comical. That was supposed to set up, of course, Ferreira versus one Francis Ngannou, but Ngannou left. I don't know if that's fight. Honestly, even though Ngannou said he's coming back, I don't know if that fight gets made. I think it gets made if he does not beat Joshua or gets humiliated. If he beats AJ, the boy's staying in boxing. I don't think he's coming back to MMA, I'm going to be honest, because he's going to have a chance to be heavyweight champion in boxing. And then maybe he comes back later, but I don't know if it's going to be the same. So, yeah, interesting scenario going on with Ngannou. And then Law Bellator for, nearly sweeping, and then when it matters, just absolutely crashing out to the PFL. So, yeah, that's how that card went. We also had UFC Mexico, which was almost a main card, if I'm being honest. Royval and Moreno, of course, headlined, and the Assassin Baby is just, he makes no sense, bro. Brandon Moreno, it makes no sense. How can he look like the elite of the elite in that division one day, and then the next day, the next fight, you don't know if he's going to lose or not? I don't know if I can't even really say it's one of those situations where he fights down or fights up to an opponent. It's just he's wildly, the same way we talked about in the NBA segment, SGA is a model of consistency, the epitome of elite consistency. Moreno was the opposite. He is wildly inconsistent, whether you're going to get him in a snoozer, all right, looking like he was sleepwalking to this fight versus Royval and he pays for it with a split decision loss, or he looks like he's the best in the game. I mean, there is no in between. Royval, however, gets the win, keeps himself, in that number 1 contender spot. Moreno, I don't know where we go from now, but yeah, he looked like he didn't have it for whatever reason. He continues to just be the epitome, one of the epitomes of chaos in the fight game. So yeah, Brian Ortega wins his second fight in 6 years. It's honestly remarkable how he's been able to maintain such high contendership and only win 2 fights in 6 years. It's the Conor McGregor method, except with more success, honestly. But T-City, he subs Jair. Not to say, look, I wasn't going to say T-City don't deserve it, though. After spraining his ankle or nearly breaking his ankle in the pre-fight, during the announcements, all right, jumping up and down and getting demolished nearly in the first round, T-City then dominates Jair for 2 rounds and then subs him in the third. Probably getting Ilya next, I would suppose, since he would now be the number 1 contender if Volk doesn't get his, immediate rematch. I would guess that's going to be the matchup. We will see what happens. But yeah, T-City takes care of Jair despite the adversity. He's back in winning ways. We'll see if he can finally get the championship. I don't know. I feel like, if he gets hit by Ilya with how he was getting hit by Jair, I think T-City might be going to sleep. Even though we know he's got a chin, we know he can be a little bit of a zombie. But yeah, Ilya might just be a different breed if he's taking out Volk like that. So we'll see. But T-City gets it done at UFC Mexico. In hockey, Austin Matthews continues to play otherworldly. I'm going to be honest. He should win the Hart, in my opinion. I don't know who y'all have as like number 1. It might be Kucherov, by the way, who was first to 100 points. Mac is not too far behind. Nathan McKinnon, I think he was only like 2 points behind. So yeah, not too far from Mac, or depending on, I guess, when they play next. He's either 2 or 4, but yeah, not too far off. But my gosh, Austin Matthews, 52 goals already. He's looking like he's on pace, I think, for 76. He's just ridiculous. All right, we haven't seen those numbers since the early 90s. He's the best American-born player in the world currently, and might be, the number 2, or at least number 3 in my opinion. Depending on how you feel it should go after McKinnon, or excuse me, McDavid. So yeah, but yeah. I'm speechless. Honestly, it's ridiculous how fast the scoring rate is different. All right, Matthews, he's that guy. All right, he's that guy in Toronto currently. My pick for the Hart. Cooch, though, making an argument, of course, looking like he might get that Art Ross depending on what Nate the Great does. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, in indoor track, ladies and gentlemen, at the SEC's highest competition in track and field, Chris Morales breaks the world record. Comes out of nowhere. We've seen Elijah Godwin. We've seen Matthew Bowling do great things in that 400 for the George the past couple of years, but no. CMW gets it done with a 44.49 to break the indoor world record at SEC's. We'll see what he does at Nationals, but yeah. What a way to end the season with a bang for him, and congrats to that Georgia program, even though Arkansas got the sweep. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed. That is all for episode 186. We'll see you next week for 187. Ocho signing off.